back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can make a pretty amazing life for yourself in sales. And today's guest is no stranger to the journey. He's a fellow RV nomad. He's out there living the life. He's my friend, Mr. Jeff Smith. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man. How are you? Thank you for having me. I'm excited
yes,
to be
sir.
here.
I'm excited to have you, brother. It's one of those things. We just got to spend a weekend together not too long ago enjoying the RV life. And I'm sure we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But I want to jump right into your crazy sales story.
Oh, man. Yeah. I think I don't know if I have very many crazy sales stories. My biggest thing is that I think that people buy in line with exactly like they consume. You know what I mean? Like there's that saying that you are going to receive exactly your buyers and consumers are going to buy exactly like you purchase things. And that's I just think that that's incredibly accurate. I don't have crazy sales stories really because I'm not really a sales guy. I just allow things to kind of come to me, if you will. I'm not salesy, never have been. I've been in the service industry. I owned a gym for 12 years. And so I've sat down in thousands of consultations, as you know, and had every sort of runaround excuse. And it's just, I really hadn't even thought of it until you did the intro and you said 2 decades in sales. And I was like, man, I've been selling for that long too. So it's very interesting. But my sales, I guess, have evolved. My process has evolved to the fact that like, I don't really do it the way I used to do it. And I don't know. You gave me a lot to think about on that first intro. That's wild. Sorry.
That's all right. Let's dive into this because I know, you came up, you ran gyms for a number of years. You ended up kind of exiting that business. Now you're more in the real estate investment side of things. Mm-hmm. I know you have a program where you're working with men to kind of get them dialed in. Like, what was that transition? What made you decide to get out of the gym space and more into the investment side of things?
Well, I mean, I was in financial services for 18 years in the corporate world. So I think it was a byproduct of I did business consulting for gyms. And what I saw over time was that like there was all these business owners that have big hearts and they know how to run their business. They were kicking off a little bit of profit and had created something for themselves. But what I saw was the gap in the marketplace was they weren't creating a future for themselves financially. And in the gym space, like that's not a good thing because like it's fine to go coach a class or do a one-on-one session or whatever when you're 25 years old. But what's that look like when you're 65 years old? And I didn't see a lot of upward trajectory from a financial standpoint for these guys. They weren't doing the right things with their money. It kind of Parkinson's law was happening. Like the better their business got, the more they would spend and their lifestyle creep would happen. And they weren't generating like, what's that look like in 20 years was the question for me. So what I did was for the company I was consulting for, I built them an upper level mastermind where we touched on a lot of these things, where we did like, what does your financial future look like? What are you building? Like, are you leaving a legacy? Do you have optionality with regards to like selling these businesses? Because I mean, most service-based businesses aren't going to sell for 7, 8, 9 figures, right? So there's not like that. There's not like that exit where you're done in a lot of the service-based industries, right? And so, I mean, if you get 600,000, that's great. It's a nice little payday, but like, that's not like right off into the sunset money. Right. And so financial education was one of the impetuses of what I wanted to bring to that, but that's, it has led me to building the Tactical Empire. And that's exactly what we do in the Tactical Empire. But I wanted to kind of really broaden it out into like men and being great husbands, great fathers, and making a lot of money. And I had a network of people that were business owners that was broad enough that like there was an appeal there. And because we're really kind of legacy based on like how you're raising your family and then what you're leaving behind for the next generation type thing. And so that's kind of what made me do it. But I still think there's a huge gap in the marketplace. Like business owners are great. They're, like I said, big-hearted people. They created their business to serve others, of course. But there's a gap in understanding from that profitability point to then like what's next. So like how do we evolve into a more sophisticated business owner, and as opposed to like that owner operator phase where like year 1 to 3 or whatever, you're kicking off a nice net profit. You've cracked the code on how not to work 100 hours a week, but like, what's that look like in 20 years?
Yeah, that's such an interesting perspective too, because, and especially for sales professionals, you might come in, you start making a lot of money, because sales is like one of the only industries that you can just walk in, and if you work really hard and you're smart about it, you could make exponential dollars, right? And
Yep.
and it all depends on your industry and different variables to that, but inevitably sales is the industry where you can come in and make a lot of money in a relatively short time frame. But again, you start to see it as like, oh, I started making more, so I started spending more. And then
Yep.
especially when you go from like sales professional to saying, hey, I don't want to work for somebody else. Why am I giving them up, 80% and I'm only getting 20%? So you start your own business. And then you kind of get into that. I think Alex Hormozy calls it the swamp, right? Where you're like up to that first million, 2, 3 million.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, how long can you really sustain that life before you have to start thinking about what is the bigger picture? And in every industry there's a time frame and a basis for how long you can continue to work at that pace before eventually things change. The market changes, trends change, people decide that they want to do things different in their life. So I love the idea of like, hey, not only can you be successful now, but if you're making a few choice decisions along the way, you can create a sustainable success for that next 5 to 10 years. And one of the things that you and I have definitely talked about a lot off camera is like, what does that look like? How do you
Yep.
really actually determine what success is going to mean to you? And what's interesting to me is I remember back in, I want to say it was 2020, maybe June of 2020, right? Everything had been shut down for a while and we had all kind of just started getting back together in Texas. And you, me, and Kristen had a conversation about, it'd be pretty cool to like sell all our stuff and move into this RV and travel the country with our kids and really get to experience what's out there.
Yep.
Fast forward a few years, you and I are both living that life. And it's because you were willing to put in the processes and the things in place to make that a reality. And so, I mean, how's that been for you in your business as far as like, hey, we used to run brick and mortar, we used to have investment properties, like shifting to the road life and really having that freedom? What was that like?
It's a process. You have to be very intentional. I mean, like, and this is something we harp on constantly with the people and the guys in the tactical empire is like living with intentionality and getting a clear vision and understanding with clarity where you're going. Because most people, to your point, like we have a lot of sales guys in our group because I am a huge advocate of sales because you can make a lot of fucking money and you can write your own ticket as far as like what your salary can be. Like you mentioned, like, but if you don't have the intentionality and that clarity, especially with your spouse on like where we're going, like 2, 3, 4 years from now, where are we headed as a family? You have a tendency to have that lifestyle creep. Like you get the house, you get the cars, you get whatever you want. And like, there's a little bit more money in the account. So why don't we just stretch to this new level, if you will? But that is what we teach and preach is like the ability to choose is what's most important, because you may not always want to go be the 7-figure sales guy. And like, you have to understand that there's seasons to your life. And 3 years from now, 5 years from now, I know so many people that get stuck there because their lifestyle is whatever, $50K a month. And so like, just like I'm talking about, what does the fitness guy look like in 20 years? what does the sales guy look like when his bills are 50K a month? And like, if you haven't swept off 10 grand a month to put in your investment account for the last 3 years, maybe 5 years down the road, he's still having to go do the cycle to make sure the 50K is coming in to sustain the life with the boat and the cars and the fucking everything else. And like, that's not what I want for anybody, because I just want the choice. If that's what you still want to do, go ahead and grind it out, brother. Like, knock it out. I love that. But like, there's going to come a day when you just want to stay home and not do that, or take a Tuesday and go to a ball game with your kid, or whatever you want to do. And the true freedom to me is having the option to do that. Like, no, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to make fucking 10K today. Great. Knock it out. Or no, I'm going to go get ice cream at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and I'm going to take the rest of the day off. Like, I want you to have that option too. And we see it in all different industries. When you were talking through your sales guy's scenario, like like I see it in real estate all the time. Wholesalers, flippers, you get addicted to the income that's coming in off of that effort. And then those guys can't get out of that cycle to where they have to show up and produce that money. So we're trying to be more forward thinking to like, how can I peel it off when I don't necessarily need it? And I'm not like, my back's not against the wall. How much cash flow? Because that's our entire impetus is carving off your profits and putting it into cash flow assets that pay you every month or every quarter. And then you're having your earned income meet your pseudo passive income. And now you've got a world of choices out there to what you can do.
Yeah, and that's, I can speak from personal experience, and I'd have to imagine there's a number of our listeners that will have experienced this, but right? Previous position I was in, I was making multiple six figures, had great opportunity, definitely let the lifestyle creep get in there, and all of a sudden we're looking at multiple 5 figures a month in overhead between house and cars and all the fun trips and everything, and then market change, that position's no longer there. Right. So this happens a lot in sales guys where it's like, hey, man, we're making good money. Something changes. Now you're back to zero or, whatever. And you're like, oh, shit, now I've got all this overhead and I've got to grind 3 times as hard to get back to where I was.
Yeah.
And if you don't have some of those things in place, you're literally going to end up, a lot of people, that's why you talk about the entrepreneurship. You see them go real high and then they just absolutely crash on their face. And a lot of the best stories are people who have been through that because they had to learn those lessons. And, it's good to have some folks around you that have had similar experiences and have poured that into some sort of, whether it's content in a course or a mastermind or, some people write books. I know you just had a new book come out recently. What was that book titled again?
Operation Wealth.
Operation Wealth. What was it that you really decided, like when you decided to write that book, what was the forethought there, and like what's all in that book to help our listeners if they decide to pick it up?
Yeah, it's our entire structural system that we build underneath everything, because it's the 7 levels of financial freedom. That's what we teach, and that's the concept. It's infinite banking into cash flow assets, and kind of how you lead yourself through the process. And I wanted to write the book basically because I think more people need to know it. You don't really need to buy our shit. Like, the book's $9. You can go implement it yourself. You don't need me to do it. But it gives you a base level understanding of all the different levels that you can step through. Because what we teach is really super personal to you. Like, it's kind of like, here's the structure. We put it underneath of you. And then it's a paint by numbers game from there. Like, whatever you want for your particular life, whatever freedom means to you, it's obviously different than what it means to me, right? I live in an RV with 4 kids and a dog and like travel the country. Like, no, people aren't wanting that. Like, so there, but that's okay. That's okay. The structure still works for everybody. And kind of the idea behind it is that, like, if you build the system that works for you and you implement it, like, you'll have financial freedom within 2 to 7 years, depending on where you're starting and from a liquidity standpoint, how much access to capital you have early on. Obviously, it's the shorter end if you've got a bunch of capital stacked up, because you can move a lot faster. But the book just walks you through the entire process of the 7 levels and how to implement your own banking system, how to buy cash flow assets to meet your bare minimum needs. And then we establish a BAM, which is your bare ass minimum. Like if your bills are $5,000 a month, it's not a Dave Ramsey thing, like cut your way to wealth. That's bullshit. I don't really teach or preach that. It's kind of like, what exactly are your bills right now, minus your like lifestyle additions, like steak restaurants and all that, eating out and all that stuff. So it's your car payments. It's everything you're obligated for to not have anything like repossessed right now. So like you're getting that number, and say that's $5,000 a month. That's the first thing that we're trying to hit is your bare ass minimum with your cash flow assets. Because at that point, when you meet that need, then you are essentially free at that point, because now you have the choice of, do you want to go to that job? Do you want to work for that boss? Or are you looking to pivot and do different things? Because you're going to make some money because you're working. Like, I mean, that's how we kind of view things. I don't think anybody that's listening to your podcast is the type of person that's going to be like, hey, I'm just going to sit around and not do anything. And so once you can have your bare minimum met through your cash flow assets, whether it's, we've got a lot of access to different things. You can invest in funds, you can buy active real estate. We do JV deals. We've got guys buying businesses, operators doing flips, like long-term rentals. I mean, anything, any flavor of what you want to be doing. That's the biggest thing. You have to choose an asset class that you want to kind of go down that rabbit hole too. But we have everything from like real passive to like business ownership, where you're a participant in that particular business, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I wrote the book for everybody else, but also like for my kids and stuff like that, so that they can implement this system. Because I'm a huge believer that if you execute on that system at an early age, you can do whatever you want ultimately. And you can make it as big as you want it too. Like, so if your goal is $100 million and my goal is $1 million, it all fits in this same system. It's just a matter of how often you cycle that flywheel and expand it.
That's one of the things that I love about this industry, right? Because like you said it earlier, and I preach on this a lot, but success is a perspective. My version is going to be different than yours. It's going to be different than your kids. And like when your kids were born, you kind of had an idea of like, hey, when they're older and successful, this is kind of what their life will look like. But by the time they get there, it'll be drastically different because things are always changing. The market changes, opportunity changes, but it really comes back to action takers get the best results. And if you're giving them the framework and the foundation to at least have a basis of what will give them more opportunity to take action, that is ultimately, in my opinion, like creating a great legacy. And that's one of the things that I've always appreciated about you, especially Jeff, is that like, you're not here to tell anyone how to live their life. You're simply saying, hey, here's a few things that you can do that will allow you, in my opinion, a better opportunity to create your version of success. And what I loved about that too, is it's like, okay, maybe you don't want to get involved in flipping houses because you don't want to swing a hammer and do whatever. Okay, well, you can still put that money into a fund that's funding other people who are doing that work. And if they're making money, they're making money. If you want to be involved because you love the day-to-day chaos of running a business, which it's always interesting to me how we choose to get into this world of running businesses. And we're like, yeah, I could have just stayed a sales producer and made my money and I had to worry about any of this shit. But it's, you know, it's all perspective. It's all what we want out of life. And so like, let's say someone's listening to this right now. They're making a little bit of money. You know, they're kind of like, I know I need to do something because I don't want to get stuck in this. Like, what's the first 2 or 3 action steps that they can take to really make sure they're setting themselves up for the next 3 to 5 years to be in that position where like all their bases are covered?
Well, I mean, selfishly, I'm going to say learn as much as you possibly can about infinite banking. Like that single concept has changed my life more than any other singular thing. And I can't say enough good things about it. Infinite banking is high early cash value life insurance for those of you listening. It's got a bad rap for most people, but it's because the policies aren't written correctly by most people. Most of the time you go get a life insurance policy, it's written by a commission-based sales guy, and he's interested in his commission. And
guilty. Got caught up in that once.
Yep. And so, but the reason that's like level 3 of the 7 levels of financial freedom is because it's the foundational key of where you start saving your money, because then you have the ability to put your dollar to work 3 different ways. That single dollar can earn money in 3 different ways within your infinite banking system. And you never pay taxes on that money ever again, through your death, into your trusts, everything else. So like once that money goes into your bank, you now control, because we're big on control, we're big on freedom. And like the more money that you can put into your banking system, the more control you have over the bank, as opposed to Bank of America, right? Like then you become a lender, then you lend to yourself, then you fund your own businesses. And the other key that people don't talk about very often is it also builds that legacy foundation for you, because as you're building your bank and investing in this stuff and then trying to buy real estate with it, or buying businesses, or investing in your primary business with it, you're also on the back end buying a multiple 7-figure death benefit. So, and people don't talk about that nearly as much, but what it does is it provides safety and security for your family so that you can go out and actually build, because now you've got this, whatever, $10,000, $100,000 in your bank, and you're using that however you want. But on the back end, your family has $5 million worth of death benefit or something. And so it provides that peace of mind that that portion of things is taken care of. And then it's your ability to go out and build with it and buy assets that bring money back into the family bank, if you will. So my number one thing I could tell people is learn about infinite banking. Don't be scared off by it. It sounds too good to be true once you get into it, because it's like, why doesn't everyone know about this? That's another reason why the Tactical Empire exists. I think that there's so many truly kind-hearted people out there that just lack financial education, or they think that like that millionaires and billionaires are doing something that they don't have access to. And that is the case in certain situations. Like, I mean, we don't get access to pre-IPO fucking shit. We don't have the ability to do insider trading like all the fucking politicians. Like, but there are things available for normal people that we just don't have the education or wherewithal to understand, but they're available to us as normal people. And the more we can get that word out to people, it can change their lives. It can change their family's trajectory. I mean, we're huge in the Tactical Empire on optionality. I keep using that term, but like, do you want your wife to go to work on a regular basis, or would you like her to stay home as a family? And so like, that's one of the first keys that we like go down that rabbit hole on how do you want your family raised, and what are you guys trying to accomplish? And so that's one thing that's really important to me too, because like, if you can meet that BAM with your investment income, what that investment income does is maybe it buys your wife out of her job, or maybe she's now part-time because she enjoys her work, but she wants to be home 3 days a week with the kids. Like those are the type of decisions I want you to be able to choose as a family, as opposed to be like, I have to go to work. We got the fucking truck payment. We have to like, if my wife had to go to work 5 days a week so that we could pay for our shit, I would be not living up to the standards that I've set for myself. And so, and that's a choice we made as a family. Of course, like we've got the opposite happening with my business partner in the Tactical Empire. His wife's actually going back to work. She quit her job at the beginning of the year because she thought that's what she wanted. And then she learned that wasn't her jam. And
that does happen.
But back to choice, right? Back to like, it's your journey, but you want that option. Because imagine if she never got that opportunity just because of the finances, right? And like, that to me is not what I don't want anyone's back against the wall where they're making choices because of a financial situation that could be solved with a little bit of additional education.
Beautiful. And, man, we could probably nerd out on this all day because I know you've got a ton more that you can talk about. There's 7 levels to this whole process. But for the sake of time and because I'm so grateful that you were able to carve some time out of your day to be here with us, what's the best way for me and the listener to come find you, follow you, check out your new book, and really learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, man. We're at the Tactical Empire on all platforms. The best way to get a hold of me directly is probably Instagram. Just send me a DM or whatever at Real Jeff Smith. And then the book is Operation Wealth. So the Tactical Empire, Operation Wealth, and then Real Jeff Smith. And I'm on my socials. You can message me. I'm the guy who messages you back. There's no corporate conspiracy levels of like AI talking to you. It's actually me. And so, but yeah, I do geek out on this shit, and I love to talk about it. I love to help people out, especially I've talked a lot about infinite banking. If you guys don't have a plug for how to get the policies written correctly, we have guys that can do that for you. So if you don't want to go down Drewby's road of getting into the wrong type of policy, send me a message and I can plug you in with our people and they'll take good care of you. So yeah, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, man. I'm grateful that we're friends. I'm grateful to know that you're out there living the life of choice and showing your family what's really possible when you build these systems and you create your own tactical empire, man. It's been a blessing for me to get to learn from you and follow your journey. And ultimately, I know that at least a handful of people who listen to this are going to go, all right, I need to get that foundation in place. I need to make sure I've got myself set up because I don't want to grind my face off for the rest of my life. And so make sure you guys go check out his book. Follow them on Instagram at Tactical Empire. I mean, they are always traveling, doing awesome, amazing things, and showing you in real time what life can look like when you put this stuff into place. So you guys know what to do. Find him, follow him, go order his book. It's a great one. I got mine on the way from Amazon. I was hoping to have it in time for the show, but it didn't show up on time. So Amazon, get your act together. And again, if you guys have been here, you've listened to the show, if you have your own story and something you want to share, I'd love for you to be a guest. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your information. Let us know where you're at, what you got going on. We'll bring you on the show. And after that, go send this to somebody you know who needs to get this stuff in place. You're not the only one who's learning here. Send it to somebody. Let them know there are levels to this game, and you can create the freedom in the life that you want, just like my man Jeff Smith. We'll see you guys on the next one.